YouTubers, I have a bone to pick with some criticisms about my boy, Daniel Bryan, aka Bryan Danielson. The title of this video says it all. Does WWE take Daniel Bryan seriously? Me and a fellow horseman here by the name of John. Introduce yourself, bro.
Come on, baby!
Yeah!
Yes! Yes! Yes!
Oh yeah, we're gonna take those criticisms, guys, and we're gonna shatter them. Before we get started, as always, please go subscribe to our main channels. Me, Dalyxman, Eonizzle, Preston's new channel, 619 Loyalist, and John's new channel, VocalAggression. And you're gonna get that side of John tonight in this video. So get ready, guys. Fasten your seatbelts. Let's do this. So, John, I have a question for you, bro.
And what's that?
Do you think WWE takes Daniel Bryan seriously? In your general thoughts, answer that question as best as you can.
Well, first, let me answer this question first as only I can. Yes! And secondly, let me actually elaborate on that so I'm not left to look like a trolling douchebag. Here's my thing, Alex. If we were going to Money in the Bank Daniel Bryan when he won it and he was on a string of losses, I would have answered the question no. But there's only one thing that I look at that gives the answer, makes it a resounding yes. And that's that, in a span of 24 hours, he was in a World Heavyweight title match that, for me personally, was my match of the night at Extreme Rules. I know for a lot of people, understandably so, it was the Chicago Street Fight. For me, it was 2 out of 3 falls, and you know why. Because Daniel Bryan proved that pure wrestling can be just as brutal as kendo sticks or 2x4s wrapped in barbed wire. And the very next night on Raw, he becomes the #1 contender for the WWE title. So he goes from one world title to another world title that is the championship in the company. And it's going to be on a pay-per-view. It's not like a John Morrison earning a title shot where it's given on free TV. No, this is on pay-per-view. So they're not even, they're using Daniel Bryan sparingly when it really counts. He's not just one of these talents that you put in there because he'll get a good reaction and he's great filler. No, they see this guy as a franchise player. In fact, I think on WWE.com, when they were looking at the 5 franchise players of Smackdown, Daniel Bryan was in that top 5. So I think when you look at all that, if this conversation was taking place again, before he cashed in Money in the Bank, when he was losing to guys like Wade Barrett on pay-per-views like SummerSlam, I would have said, well, you know what, Alex? They're probably only appealing to that core audience, the internet fans, the indie, addicts, and, that's all they're appealing to. They're going to milk him, and when he runs dry, they'll just discard him. But I think Daniel Bryan has upped his own game, and he's upped his own value to the point where he is a bona fide main eventer. Whether you think Daniel Bryan is a solid character or not, whether you think he's overrated in-ring or not, the fact is he's main eventing pay-per-views, and he's competing for world championships, not mid-card titles. I mean, he is a fixture in the world title picture, and we can't discount any of that. I mean, what do you think about all that, Alex?
John, everything you just said, I echo those sentiments. And it's funny to me that even after all of that, from being the franchise player, from wrestling for the WWE Championship, not just the mid-card championship, no, he's wrestling for the World Championship, both of them. And still, despite all of that, people want to focus on the losses. They want to focus on how he's booked from the Money in the Bank to right now. The fact that he's winning cheaply. And, those 3 criticisms mainly are the ones I want to focus on here. Let's look at the Money in the Bank, because that's the big one. That's the big one everybody's talking about. They didn't book him all that strong for Money in the Bank. Okay, when it was going on, did he get the best, resist the troll, John, here we go, build that anybody else could have gotten as a Money in the Bank winner? Let me tell you something, guys. All the Money in the Bank winners, unless you're Edge, CM Punk, RVD, most of the people who are Money in the Bank pretty much didn't get the best build as world champions would get. I wouldn't think so, but that's kind of what makes the Money in the Bank briefcase a little bit more special. That's how they've always done things. Regardless of that, look at where Daniel Bryan is right now. First off, look how he won the championship. It told to me a pretty realistic story of, Daniel Bryan trying to do things the right way. And unfortunately, he couldn't do it the right way because apparently when he tried to do it that way, he was losing matches. So he decided to take the other route when he tried to go against Mark Henry, and then when Big Show pressured him to do it, he did it on Big Show, and he ended up turning heel, becoming an egotistical bastard, and this same egotistical bastard went on a 3-month reign. He did go to WrestleMania, he did lose in 18 seconds, I'll get to that in a second, but look where he is right now. The most over, perhaps, if not the most over wrestler in WWE, definitely one of the most over wrestlers in WWE. So, based off of that, why would anybody really sit back and tell themselves the build he got from Money in the Bank till now was horrible, when actually it contributed to where he is right now? The fact that he wasn't showcased all that much and was losing all his matches on main TV led to him being the douchebag that he is right now, and this douchebag is tearing it up in WWE right now. You know what I'm saying, John?
Absolutely. You know, Alex, I want to take everybody back to Money in the Bank because that's one of my fondest memories, you know, with my fellow horseman Preston. We watched that pay-per-view together. We did live reactions. And I don't want to speak for him right now because he's got his own mouth that works very well. But I think me and him were both shocked that Cody Rhodes did not take it that year. See, that's the one thing with Daniel Bryan that I think kind of rubbed me the wrong way at first. I was with everybody. It didn't seem like he was a blip on the radar screen. To me, I thought Cody Rhodes had it in the bag because he was having a phenomenal year that year. And I think Preston would agree with me. When he won it, I wasn't totally against the idea. I think the only reason I was mad to begin with, Alex, was you know how pro Cody Rhodes I am, and I certainly was back then, especially with the mask gimmick. Here's the thing with Daniel Bryan. I think it's something that's always been with Daniel Bryan. I think people either get frustrated or disgusted when they look at his NXT days when he was losing and he had the quote-unquote, you know, rib injury and he was the underdog, and then they look at Money in the Bank because we know how good he is. And I think that's the frustrating thing. You look at what he was on TV, and it even left guys like me scratching my head. I was never against Daniel Bryan, but it's like, come on, kid. We know how good you are. You're the stuff of legend. You know, this is the guy I would hear about when people would say greatest wrestler in the world. You're that guy. I'm watching the supposed, the alleged, you know, greatest wrestler in the world. So the booking would get frustrating at times. And I was one of those people, Alex, you even know. There was a point where me and Preston were so scared for Daniel Bryan, we thought he'd be the first one to cash in and lose. Because WWE, I think, knew how good Daniel Bryan was, but I think they almost wanted to mock that. And maybe that's the wrong word to use, but I think they wanted to say, well, you think he's good on your standards, he's going to have to prove he's good on ours.
Right.
And ultimately, though, he did. Mm-hmm. And see, here's the thing. I was scared when, you know, he was gaining momentum, becoming this really over babyface. And, I mean, you know the reaction he got on the Smackdown taping when he cashed in on Mark Henry. The pop was ridiculous. Celebration was awesome. And then we see at TLC, he cashes in on the Big Show. And I'm thinking, oh, God. You know, I mean, as long as he stays babyface, because we all thought, you know, with Big Show's reactions afterwards, oh, God, he's so angry about a 45-second title reign, he's going to turn heel. That didn't happen. And really looking back on it now, that was the best thing they could have done. And I really have to give big ups to Daniel Bryan, because the David Goliath story always garners sympathy for the smaller guy. They did a completely different rendition of the story, and my greatest soundbite when describing it, David was a dick. You wanted Goliath to tear him apart. And that's what makes Daniel Bryan so good. Because, you know, you've seen this a million times. You've seen it, and I hate to rag on him, but I know Preston would agree. In his first world title reign, you saw it a lot with Rey Mysterio. You see it a lot with a lot of the small guys. Daniel Bryan, though, is this aggressive, like, pit bull. And you knew that he could take these giants down to size. And if not even physically, mentally. Great big versus small man matches. Some of the best that I can actually ever recall. I was entertained by all of them, whether it was Big Show, Daniel Bryan, or Mark Henry, Daniel Bryan, and of course the triple threat in the steel cage where Daniel Bryan retained. I think it's a matter of, you know, it was pretty much saying, I'm good as a babyface, I'm going to be legendary as a heel. And really looking at it, I still think that Daniel Bryan could be a top babyface. Some would even argue that he is now kind of like that anti-hero. But him being heel is just so friggin' refreshing. I enjoy it every time it's on my television. So the criticisms about the build, I mean, had a 3-month title reign where he wanted the Royal Rumble, wanted Elimination Chamber, and whether you like that Santino took Orton's place or not, Santino was over as fuck. I mean, a very over, an identifiable face character, which garnered Daniel Bryan a lot of heat when Santino came in second, because it was that amazing comeback story. It was like the American hockey team versus the Russians. Only thing is, the Russians came out on top in this case, being Daniel Bryan. And, yes, WrestleMania 18 seconds. Now, this is where it gets interesting, Alex, because, you know, you and I had many one-to-one conversations. I was like, Alex, You excited? You excited? It's your WrestleMania moment, bud. It's the horse that you've been backing, the world champion. He goes in there, Miami, Florida. And you and I were hyped as fuck. Horsemen were hyped as fuck. Even Preston came around. He's now a Daniel Bryan fan, so it shows you the Kool-Aid is quite delicious. Goes in there. Okay, and I'm expecting a clinic, right? Because it's WrestleMania, and they wouldn't be stupid. They wouldn't be stupid
of me. Expect a clinic, right?
It's the world heavyweight title. You couldn't possibly, unless you just miraculously in the last 10 seconds rehired Vince Russo to just get an 18-second world title match, and that's what we got. And I was infuriated. Me and my friend couldn't, for the first hour, we were raging about it. Like, we could not get into a good chunk of the show until I think about...
And John, let me say something really quickly. When we think about it storyline-wise, Daniel Bryan got the championship by a fluke win. He lost it by a fluke win. So it does tie together. Despite that, Daniel Bryan still, him losing, infuriated so many people. You have no idea. Even casual fans at the WrestleMania event was pissed off. That should tell you something about Daniel Bryan, but continue your statement.
No, and it's absolutely true, because you got people saying, wait, I paid X amount of money for this? Because, at WrestleMania, even the cheap seats ain't all that cheap. And, you get this 18-second match, and, it really, here's the thing, it was done brilliantly for storyline purposes, but in so many different ways than what WWE intended. Because you could tell what WWE intended was to make Sheamus that monster champion who really had the crowd in the palm of his hand. And Daniel Bryan, I think they were really trying to make that cookie-cutter bad guy. At least that's my perception. I know me and Ashton did a video a long while back, which everybody should check out on his channel, Eonizzle, about the conspiracy theory against the champions, which at the time were Punk and Bryan. And when I think back to a moment like that, it almost makes me want to say, conspiracy! C-O-N, spiracy! But, yeah, what a jobber. But, you look at it, and it's like, wow, what a fall from grace. The guy was, messing with people's heads. In fact, I remember Daniel Bryan even beat Sheamus one-on-one at a Smackdown taping by having Sheamus get himself disqualified. And I thought we were going to see a similar ending like that, because what they were really playing up with Sheamus was that he was angry, that he had a temper. And the idea that they didn't play with any of these elements at WrestleMania kind of befuddled me. But we get to Raw, and the yes chants are thunderous. It's like a star has been born. During a Rock promo, where fans everywhere, whether you like the guy or you hate him, you hang on every word. All throughout the night, when Del Rio was speaking, it did not stop. And when he addressed the crowd after the show, and he still took his little dig at AJ, because he's like, AJ, what do you think of all this? And then she goes, speak, shut up. And they eat it up. It's insane the amount of over this guy is. And I think the point I'm trying to get across with all this rambling here is, we talk about the booking, we're like, oh, he hasn't been booked strong enough. Can you really call it weak booking when a man can openly, verbally abuse his girlfriend and be treated as a hero for it? Good freaking God. I think at this point he could get her in a label lock, pull a Chris Brown on her ass, and get a statue made in his honor back in his hometown at Aberdeen, Washington.
Exactly. And John, that is my point. Look, am I saying that Daniel Bryan got the best booking ever? Absolutely not. What I'm saying is Daniel Bryan is so good at being the wrestler that he is, he was able to take that booking and make it work into something much more impressive, something much more groundbreaking. This heel character is probably the best character in WWE right now. It's so over that John just said it. He can go out there and tell a woman to shut the hell up, and he'll still get cheered for it. Are you kidding me? And people want to get on Daniel Bryan or WWE for not taking him seriously, like giving that horrible booking. Look, in wrestling, not everybody's going to be hand-fed greatness on a silver platter. That's not how it works. The people who are able to take what they're given and make something out of it are the ones that become Hall of Famers. And John, you know damn well that that's true. Jim Ross even said that.
Let me just say this, Alex. The first time Daniel Bryan did his job exceptionally well, he got fired. This time around that he's doing his job exceptionally well, he's competing for the WWE Championship of the World, which a few years ago may have been, that's nothing. That title's, it's just a glorified game of hot potato. CM Punk has been on a tear When it comes to Over the Limit, it'll have been a 6-month reign, the likes of which he has beaten Mark Henry, Chris Jericho. He won the title from Del Rio. Beat Miz and Del Rio in a TLC match. He's overcome so many odds. And the idea that Daniel Bryan gets a crack at that guy, the guy who's been on a tear, the guy who calls himself best in the world, the guy who pretty much held the company hostage and became an iconic figure overnight. And the idea that Daniel Bryan gets to step foot in the ring with him, nothing between him and Punk but air and 10 pounds of the most prestigious gold in professional wrestling history. And you're going to tell me this kid's being booked weak? Then please, I implore anybody who brings those arguments forward, show me what strong booking is. Because if it's not competing against the dominant champion on a pay-per-view, I don't give a crap if it's throwaway, Big Four, the pay-per-view, whatever. Backyard, kitchen sink, whatever you want to call it. It's happening.
Well, see, John, that's not the only criticism they have for Daniel Bryan. The next criticism I want to talk about is him losing a lot from his NXT days to where he is right now. Because when he came in NXT, he pretty much lost all his matches. And people are saying, well, he lost all his matches, so how am I supposed to believe that WWE is taking him seriously? He hasn't beaten any world champions or anybody important. That's what they're saying. And I just gotta say this really quickly. Isn't it funny that even though he lost all those matches, he's still over as he is right now? Because, see, Daniel Bryan is like Chris Jericho. He's one of those talents that he can lose matches and still look good doing it. There's only a few people that can do that come to mind. Shawn Michaels is one of them. My favorite wrestler out there. He can lose to, I don't give a shit, he can lose to pretty much anybody in the WWE and still look like a legend like he is right now. And still look like the legend that he is right now. Because he does it so well. He has such a passion, he has such an aura about him, like Daniel Bryan, to where he can lose. He can go out there and make everybody he goes up against look like a freaking $1,000,000 and still retain some of that prestige for himself. Because Daniel Bryan is that type of wrestler. So to me, people saying that he loses a lot, he doesn't look credible as a champion, he doesn't look like a legit wrestler when he loses, and that he hasn't beaten anybody legit, which is something stupid. I mean, Cody Rhodes, Del Rio, who is a former champion, Miz, who's a former champion. He has beaten Big Show and Mark Henry. There are people even saying that he didn't beat Mark Henry and Big Show legit. He escaped the cage. Look, he may have not pinned them, but he did beat them cleanly in the steel cage match. He escaped the cage cleanly. He beat 5 people in the Elimination Chamber. Yes, it didn't include Randy Orton. Woohoo! It didn't include Mark Henry. He beat 5 people in the Elimination Chamber to retain his World Championship. And he did beat Sheamus. He may not have won the match, but he did beat Sheamus, get that fall over him. People are overlooking all this kind of stuff and want to focus on Daniel Bryan losing. Again, if it mattered that much, he wouldn't be where he is right now, because he's still considered a franchise player on Smackdown, and he's still going for the WWE Championship. You know what I'm saying, John?
Just one thing I really have to say to that, because honestly, out of the 3 arguments, I find this one to be the most irrelevant, and that's just me. With a guy who loses all the time, I mean, how do you lose, to become the World Heavyweight Champion? You have to, win matches somewhere. And, those were big matches. Yeah, Daniel Bryan's lost a lot. I mean, hell, I think every wrestler once in a while, finds themselves in that slump. I mean, look at The Miz, post-WrestleMania. He was WWE Champion, dropped the championship, did his little thing with Awesome Truth. But then, after that, it just seemed like, what's he doing? He was in this slump. People thought he wasn't even going to make it to WrestleMania. Finally found his way on the Laurinaitis tag. And even now, like when it seemed like things were turning around for him, still isn't the same kind of relevant character or what have you that he used to be. Now, we could actually make this about The Miz, but this is about Daniel Bryan. My point being, Miz was a world champion and he main evented at WrestleMania, and look what's happened to him. So I think it can happen, to the best of us. The idea is that in the here and now, on, May 16th, 2012, Daniel Bryan is slated to compete for the WWE Championship of the World. And honestly, was it Extreme Rules the last time Daniel Bryan actually lost a match like big time? I mean, I know he didn't win the tag this past Monday, but, that was of his own accord. He walked out, he stared down Punk, playing the mind games. The last time I recall, no, he did lose to Sheamus on an edition of Smackdown. But the thing is, and here's my thing, even if I do recall losses and whatever, maybe he's not on the biggest winning streak, but he He's a destroyer, though, dude. He gave Sheamus the fight of his life, both at Extreme Rules and at that Smackdown taping. And Sheamus only won, by that burst of momentum or that one lucky shot. On SmackDown, Daniel Bryan just had a miscue off the top rope, got hit with a bro kick. At Extreme Rules, it took a Yakuza kick to the face and a bro kick just to keep Daniel Bryan down for the third fall after Daniel Bryan beat the shit out of him in his arm. Daniel Bryan is aggressive. He's ruthless. He's not like this. He's not like a Colin Delaney, Alex, where he loses all the time and doesn't even put up a fight. And that's the thing. And that's what I think people try and get at when they say, well, he loses a lot, trying to make that parallel. But the fact is, Daniel Bryan always gives you a fight. He always comes back with something. He'll kick your head in. He'll lock you in that yes lock. And if he comes up short, it's at a very steep price to the opponent. Because, Sheamus' arm, they're still playing it up with the shoulders heavily taped. That Daniel Bryan did that. Okay, and now the likes of Del Rio and Jericho are only making it worse. But, Daniel Bryan set that wheel in motion. But yet Sheamus was the victor, right? At what price? The fact is, every great superstar once in a while is going to lose a match. In my opinion, it's how you lose.
Thank you. Absolutely. It's about the performer. It's about how it's performed, okay? Shawn Michaels lost plenty of matches in his career. I don't see people talking about how Shawn Michaels lost. No, because they're talking about how great he was inside the ring. Why is that different with Daniel Bryan? I don't get that. He's great inside the ring. Me personally, I'm not even thinking about his losses. He lost all those matches in NXT. Didn't even pop up to me until somebody brought it up that made me do this video, which is ridiculous to me. Why are people trying so hard to remember the losses that he had? It shouldn't matter. He's such a great performer. He puts on great matches. He puts over everybody he's faced so far. So why are we focusing on his losses when we should be focused on the performer?
I completely agree with you. Hell, my favorite wrestler of all time, Chris Benoit, has lost matches. My favorite match of all time, but with him against Kurt Angle, Royal Rumble 2003, a submission loss. He tapped out, clear as day, to Kurt Angle. And yet, he walked away with a standing ovation. And Michael Cole on commentary saying, which always gives me goosebumps, Chris Benoit proved to the world tonight that he indeed can be a champion.
Yeah.
And you look at Shawn Michaels, lost 2 back-to-back WrestleManias against The Undertaker, one of which was Shawn Michaels' retirement. Taker forced Shawn's hand out of the WWE kayfabe-wise because he beat him. And yet people still are ready, and rightfully so. This is not a dig at Shawn, but people are so ready to say that he's the greatest of all time. And that's not a dig, because I'm right there with you, but the fact is, he lost 2 back-to-back WrestleManias, and you're not going to tell me that's going to be a loss of credibility? I'm just calling it like I personally see it, Alex, and my thing is, you even have your big-time performers losing big-time matches, and they don't get squat. Is it because they've paid the dues? Is it because they're so established it doesn't even matter? Well, the fact is, Daniel Bryan will get there one day, but it takes time. And I think when he's doing good things, we can't reflect on, oh yeah, do you know how they made him look on NXT to the point where, he pretty much eliminated himself? No, what I want to focus on is the present. The fact that he's competing against an over-as-fuck champion in CM Punk for the WWE Championship. Not Chris Jericho, not Lord Tenzai, not John Cena, not Cody Rhodes. It's Daniel Bryan. He's the guy. One-on-one. Nobody else. No gimmicks. Straight up wrestling between these two. They've had 3 amazing TV matches, one of which, albeit cutting corners, Daniel Bryan won. Yeah, by DQ, but guess what? The record book will say on that night.
Does it matter? He won.
Exactly. Daniel Bryan beat CM Punk, the world champion, because it was a champion versus champion encounter. The world champion trumped the WWE champion. Those are the things I like to think of. Why the hell, after all this time, would I think about, you remember his NXT debut where he looked like a punk against Chris Jericho?
You don't see me saying, dude, remember when Austin came in as the ringmaster? Now that was shit. No, I don't give a shit about his ringmaster debut. I care about what he did in the Attitude Era at Stone Cold Steve Austin. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, I get you completely, man. I just think it's absurd. I can understand criticizing a performer if you just don't like them. But going so far back, when they're doing much more relevant things now than they were back then, just to try and prove a point, to me it just makes for a very weak argument. Not trying to disrespect anybody, but if you're going to go all the way back to when he was fired the first time or his NXT days to criticize how he is now, when they're 2 completely different performers, because one, that was a face Daniel Bryan, and he still kind of had that boyish look, kind of, portrayed as this really green guy living the dream. Now it's the Dragon, dude, friggin' heel, kicking heads in, winning championships and headlining pay-per-views. Two completely different performers. So to try and use the, booking of one to criticize the other, to me is completely absurd. But that's just me.
And this final criticism is one that really, really irritates me. People are saying WWE doesn't take Daniel Bryan seriously because he's booked like a cowardly cookie cutter heel. Oh my god. Okay. John, tell me something. Who does this sound familiar to you? A guy that picked up his victories by pretty much using cheap tactics, holding the ropes, running away from matches to protect himself, using DQ finishes to pick up victories like that. You know who that sounds like to me? Kurt Angle. When Kurt Angle first came in and went on that undefeated streak from 1999 to somewhere in 2000, most of his matches were won by dirty tactics, roll-ups, using DQs and stuff to keep himself from losing. That's ridiculous to me. Because it's like, yeah, he's being booked like a cowardly heel. I'm sorry, you act like he's the only person that's being booked like a cowardly heel. Triple H was booked like a cowardly heel. Kurt Angle was booked like a cowardly heel. Wasn't The Rock booked like a cowardly heel at one point? It's ridiculous to me. Who cares? So what if he's being booked to play a role? It's his role. It doesn't matter what role they give him, it's what he does with it. You don't see people saying WWE didn't take Kurt Angle seriously, do you? You don't see people saying WWE doesn't take Triple H seriously. Do you see them saying that about The Rock? Absolutely not. And I'm using those three because those are the three that the internet fans or the people that are criticizing Daniel Bryan look up to. You know what I'm saying, John? So to me, it's ridiculous that people are saying WWE doesn't take him seriously because they gave him a specific role. It doesn't matter what role you give him, because despite the fact that he's a cowardly heel, look at that, he's still going for the WWE Championship. Shouldn't that matter? Shouldn't the resume matter? Shouldn't the fact that he went on a 3-month reign matter to you, instead of the fact that he was a cowardly heel during that 3 months? Oh my god. See, John, that's my thing, okay? I think some wrestling fans just want so much from WWE. It has now gone from, I want this guy pushed, to, I want this guy to be pushed this way and this way only. It shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter what role he's given. We don't control WWE. What role they're given is the role that they're given. What they do with that role is what determines if they're on top or on the bottom. Daniel Bryan, to me, has played his role as the cowardly heel perfectly. Look who he's put over with this. At Elimination Chamber, he had that match with Santino. That made Santino look like a fucking pro and put him so over, it's ridiculous. Look who he's in a program right now. AJ Lee. A diva. A diva. Come on now. And because of what he's doing with her, she's one of the, probably the best aspects of Smackdown right now. Or one of the best divas in the company right now, because of what she's been doing with Daniel Bryan. He's made Big Show look more relevant than he's looked in a long ass time, in my opinion. It doesn't matter what role he's given, it's what he's done with it. So the fact that people are getting on, WWE for booking him as a cowardly heel, first off, doesn't mean he's gonna be a cowardly heel forever. But it doesn't mean shit. It doesn't really mean anything what role, because he's still making away with the role. He's still kicking ass, he's still getting over, he's still putting people in their seats with the role that he's given. You still see people coming up to WWE going, yes, 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 yes. That's all over the place. So, it doesn't matter. John, take it from here, bro.
I mean, here's my thing. Every great heel, in this industry has some sense of cowardice about them. Even the very recent Hall of Famer Edge showed cowardice. I remember one segment. It was the night that him and Vicky Guerrero, made public their relationship, and he had her on an edition of The Cutting Edge. And Undertaker appeared, and he was going to tombstone Vicky Guerrero, and Edge didn't come back in to save her. And this is the guy that was supposedly so in love. Of course, we knew the truth, but I mean, how it's portrayed, show some consistency for your master plan. Miz, a lot of times, showed cowardice. Did a lot of hit and run attacks. I think it's a common trait for most heels. Now, we like to bring up the heels that are just cold and ruthless, whatever. I mean, even guys like Randy Orton, they're punting people, they're taking people out. But when they would see the cavalry come, like, say, a John Cena coming to an aid of a Triple H, or a Triple H coming out, on a title score with Orton, a lot of the time, if he wasn't cornered, he would bail and just live to fight another day or have Legacy do the dirty work. So even the heels that maybe aren't so openly, show their cowardice. It's like, wearing a t-shirt that says I'm a coward. They still have the traits that say, yeah, that guy's a pussy or what have you. And with Daniel Bryan, I just chalk it up to him picking his spots. I think what he's doing is no different than some of the stuff that Edge used to do. And, my thing is, I look at that, and I think we, have a great heel in Daniel Bryan that I think isn't being appreciated because we just think, oh, he's this coward, he's this, that, and the other. When we've seen this all before, it's really nothing too new, but he's making it his own. I'm not saying it in a bad way, like it's not entertaining. I'm just saying, don't act like we haven't seen this before, because we have. And, he wins. The guy wins, and that's the thing. If he was being a coward and consistently getting DQ'd or this, that, and the other, didn't get any impressive victories, again, at Extreme Rules, he got to fall over Sheamus because Sheamus was deemed unconscious, for God's sakes. That's how bad Daniel Bryan beat him down. And if he ever does get disqualified or counted out, it's always because of some mental chess game that he's playing at Extreme Rules. He gave up the first fall. Why? Because he was brutalizing Sheamus, and he knew he was going to weaken him for the 2 future falls. And his plan came to fruition for one of them, but Sheamus, gutted the third one out. The mind games with Big Show, getting Big Show in a mentally frazzled state, able to take advantage and, kind of negate the size, because how are you going to use your size to its fullest, effectiveness if you're not thinking clearly? Daniel Bryan has a purpose for everything that he does, and I think that's something that we need to, give a little bit more credit to. It's not just him being a coward for the sake of being a coward. No, it's him picking his spots, just like an Edge, and even in some cases, yes, just like a Miz. So I feel like, we're giving him way too much flack for just doing a great job, for doing the job that he's assigned, and trying to, give it a fresh coat of paint, which I feel like he's done successfully. And that's just my view, Alex.
That's ridiculous to me, because when it's Edge, he's an ultimate opportunist, But when it's Daniel Bryan, I just feel like some people are a bit hard on him, and I think I know why. Because a lot of people, especially the internet fans that know him from ROH, want WWE to book him like Bryan Danielson from ROH. We have to come to the realization, guys, until, and most likely, I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but until he manages to get a role like that, until they decide that they want to book him like that, sorry guys, realize that we don't control WWE. That's just how it is. I'm not going to come up here and say, I want WWE to do what I want to do, because why would they listen to me? I'm just a wrestling fan. I am there to watch what they give me and enjoy it. So what? It's a role. You don't see actors coming in and getting pissed off. Well, I want to be lead. I want to be the lead character. It doesn't matter. Whatever role you're given as an actor, you take it and do your best with it. Daniel Bryan has a role. He's doing his best with it. And honestly, it's making for great TV on Smackdown, on Raw, and a pay-per-view, whatever they do with them. So, dude, look at all these criticisms, and I guess we can come to the conclusion that they're all whack. Right, John?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, hey, Alex, if I'm going to be really forthcoming with everybody and really vocalize my truest feelings, I do think Daniel Bryan is the franchise player on SmackDown. I know usually the franchise player is supposedly, the guy who bears the gold, but to me, Daniel Bryan is creating much more, compelling television than the world champion himself. If anybody is competition for Daniel Bryan as franchise player, it is Randy Orton, because he's been absolutely exceptional as well, and I still want to see those two feud somewhere. I would like it to be this summer, but I think, both guys have way too much going on, so maybe in the fall, we'll get a Daniel Bryan-Randy Orton feud. But that is the only competition on the SmackDown brand, Alex, that I see, for franchise player. And maybe Chris Jericho if he's officially making the jump. But that's two contenders, Alex, in a sea of like an entire roster. And look at how decorated they are. I mean, they're not schmucks. So, for Daniel Bryan to kind of hold his own with that kind of company, to me, speaks volumes. The guy's an amazing performer, a great technician, a great understanding of his character and the crowd. The crowd is in love with him. Technically speaking, if we go by the crowd standards, he is a babyface. He isn't even a heel, which makes it even better that he acts the way he does. He's made a diva relevant outside of her division to the point where I want her to be the next Divas champion after Layla. I want her to take the title off Layla. And I just read that Karma may be returning soon, but they really don't have any set plan for her yet. So to me, AJ may actually be primed to be the next Divas Champion if things keep going her way and they still don't know what to do with Karma. And we can thank Daniel Bryan for that partially because, yes, she's a great athlete, but look at all the relevance and credibility that a guy like Daniel Bryan has given her. You know, he's put guys over, you know, with his supposed losing streak. You know, he only furthered the momentum of guys like Barrett and you know, all of them. He even worked with the Sin Cara storyline a little bit, losing to the evil Sin Cara and all that shit when that was going on. So, you know, the guy's worked with virtually everybody. He's paid his dues. And hey, in this business, you never stop paying your dues. So I'm not saying, you know, Daniel Bryan can collect. But the fact is, he's doing great things now, and I think he needs to be rewarded for that. And for me, I reward him with my viewership and my support. I want him to be WWE Champion, come over the limit, and I haven't hid my feelings about that. I think CM Punk has had a tremendous run, but I would love to see what Daniel Bryan on the Raw brand can do with that WWE Championship. You know, but that's just me. I hope this program continues beyond Over the Limit. I know you kind of want, you know, them to save it for a big WrestleMania blow-off, but to me, Alex, the talent's that good. You can write that in any time, and it wouldn't matter. I could never get tired of these two competing personally. So honestly, even if they did have a 2 to 3 pay-per-view program, you know, this summer, I wouldn't bitch about it because I know they could do WrestleMania 30. The thing, you know, that's a long ways away because we're not even at 29 yet. So, you know, we could still have that great match, and God knows the changes in character that would occur then. So I want him to have a full-fledged program. We'll see what happens. Point being, though, Daniel Bryan is exceptional, and I really just feel I wish he would get more credit. But, alas, he does not. I find these criticisms to be completely unfounded. But that doesn't mean that they shouldn't be expressed. If anybody has any criticisms, you know, feel free to put them down in this video, comments, video responses, whatever. I mean, we want to communicate. I just feel like if these are the best arguments being put forward, you know, we just pretty much debunked them here. So, Alex, do you have anything else you want to say?
I mean, I'm not going to come up here and say, I know what WWE is thinking. I know exactly what Vince McMahon is thinking. Is there the possibility that he's not being taken seriously in the eyes of the WWE or something like that? I don't know. Perhaps there is somewhat, but I would think by the work that he's doing right now, they're starting to get more into him. Don't you think? The way he has the crowd in the palm of his hands and stuff like that, how well he's making their talents look good in the eyes of the viewers. I would think by now, WWE would go, okay, you know what? We got something here. We got something here with Daniel Bryan. And I know they're not stupid. Look, Vince McMahon is not stupid. I am pretty sure with all the fans getting behind Daniel Bryan, with the great matches he's having, he has an eye on Daniel Bryan. I mean, he gave him the WWE Championship, a match for the WWE Championship against CM Punk. I mean, what else can we ask for? Does WWE take Daniel Bryan seriously? In the eyes of these two wrestling fans, yes. I think they do. However, if you disagree, please make a video response. Leave your comments down below. Do what you do. This is a good discussion to go. I want to get your thoughts on this one, guys. But to us, if this is the best arguments that people can bring to us, no, this is a pretty weak bunch of arguments to let us think that WWE does not take Daniel Bryan seriously. I mean, because it applies to all kind of wrestlers, and it's ridiculous. So, guys, please, thank you for watching this video. Subscribe to the main channels down below. And, John, anything else you want to say, bro?
No, dude, I am good, man. Nothing more to say here.
With that said, guys, your boys, Dalyxman and John, from VocalAggression, signing off here. For friends, for wrestling, forever. For Horsemen. Peace.